Communist News this morning has a story out there. It's called Embracing Big Brother. How facial recognition could help fight crime. The glaringly obvious about that headline is they're not talking at all about the danger associated with facial recognition or iris recognition. From fighting terrorism to processing payments in the blink of an eye, facial recognition is set to change our ideas on privacy. No, let me explain something, CNN writer. It's not going to change my idea of privacy at all. All it does is reinforce the fact that our government is operating in tyranny and you are supporting it. Wholesale. Treason. Why? Because you're not pointing out the danger of this. You're sitting here soft pedaling this like as if it's some kind of a benefit. Where's the benefit? I don't want to pay with something blinking my eye at a cash register. I don't need to. The old system of money was just fine. They go on to say, a number of exciting developments in the field could even push its toughest critics to reconsider. Really? No, you're never going to get me to reconsider. The more people get out of it, the more they'll surrender to it, says Manolo Almagro, Senior Vice President of Digital for TPN Incorporated. Almagro believes that people will only embrace the technology if the benefits outweigh privacy concerns. Let me tell you something. You can't give me enough benefits to make this outweigh my concerns about privacy. There aren't enough benefits in the world. You can offer me a free EBT card that I can walk up and simply blink like a I'm telling you. Facial recognition is a computer-based system that automatically identifies a person based on a digital image or a video source, which is then matched to information stored in a database. Often used in fictional TV series such as CSI, crime scene investigation, it is soon set to become a real-life tool for fighting crime. In 2014, the FBI will be rolling out the technology across the U.S. after pilot testing is completed in some states. Wow, I'm so excited. I can't wait for you to be able to identify me in a crowd as I go to the baseball game. Thank you so very much. They've even pulled out the section that says the more people get out of it, the more they'll surrender to it. Facial recognition is a key part of the agency's ambitious $1 billion next-generation identification system, the NGI, a state-of-the-art biometric identification system that also includes iris scans, DNA analysis, and voice identification. My gracious, I'm so excited. The mission is to reduce terrorist and criminal activity by improving and expanding biometric identification, as well as criminal history information services. And that's because everybody's really a criminal. We just haven't determined which one of you really are guilty yet. We're going to find out, though. UK-based Dr. Chris Solomon is an advocate for the technology, too. Oh my, so now we have a professor who's going to tell us how wonderful this is and how we should be so enamored and excited about it, we should just swoon. He's a professor at the University of Kent. Oh my gracious, he has so much credibility now. Solomon has created an electronic sketch artist system that has changed how the UK police identify criminals. His method is currently used by 90% of British police in more than 30 countries. Oh my, there's a lot of credibility in that statement. I am so impressed. Here's what he has to say. The key advantage here is that it allows people to respond to faces they see, rather than having to break it down into component parts. It's credited with helping to solve hundreds of crimes. His facial composite software identifies suspected criminals in a new way. The system, the EFIT-V or EFIT-V system, allows victims and witnesses to select the best and worst matches from a group of computer-generated faces. Based on those responses, the computer eventually learns what type of face they are and they are after, and it displays the options accordingly. Oh, this won't lead to any false positives. Don't you smell it? This is Goebbels propaganda. We don't want those little retarded babies anymore. We're just going to have to take them away from their parents where we can take the best care of them. Yes, we don't want that drag on our society. Bring us your little retarded babies. Bring us your little malformed boys and girls. Bring us your retarded uncle you keep away in a closet somewhere. Bring them to us. We'll take good care of them for you. Mario Civides, the director of the CMU Scilab Biometrics Center, tells CNN's Tom Foreman how low resolution can be especially challenging. When you look at images collected from standard CCTV closed-circuit television footage, the faces are way too small. He explains that it is especially difficult matching off-angle images to a full frontal facial photograph. The solution his team has created is a system that transforms flat photos into 3D images. He argues that the ability to recreate a suspect from all angles will improve the reliability of facial recognition and help police track down suspects faster. You've got to be kidding me. Suspects of what? You've got kids running around, running the streets like a bunch of flippin' apes, knocking people out, playing knockout. Where the hell are the cops on that? Instead, they're interested in whether, and you know what they're doing in Washington, D.C.? They're putting cameras up at stoplights. Well, why don't you catch the kid who's running around knocking old Mrs. McGillicuddy over just so he can show his friends how tough he is? Yeah, that's great. Knock over a 62-year-old woman with a single punch. Oh, you're a real tough guy. I'm so impressed. Why don't you go after the traitors in the NSA? Why don't you go after the traitors in the FBI who are doing the NSA's dirty work for them? Why don't you guys spend some time doing investigative journalism on that? The story goes on to tell us now how the luxury retail sector appears to see potential in facial recognition, too. According to the Sunday Times, dozens of stores and hotels are testing technology in the U.S., the UK, and the Far East. UK-based NEC IT Systems specializes in identification of terrorists and criminals. Let me tell you something. You have a better chance of being struck by lightning twice in the same day than you do of dying from a terrorist attack. The real terrorists are not out of Algeria, or they're not out of Afghanistan, they're not out of Iran, they're not out of Iraq. They're based in Washington, D.C. State-sponsored domestic terrorism, engineered, created, implemented, and perpetrated by your government. I mean, this is ridiculous. The system checks the information against the database with celebrities and valued customers. Oh, I can't wait to be in your database because then I'm a valued customer. I feel so much better about myself, my goodness. Oh, if I am only thought of Neiman Marcus's valued customer, oh my gracious, please don't take me out of that database. When I come in, I want you to fawn all over me and throw rose petals at my feet, so I can spend 262% of the retail value for that blouse. The system checks the information against the database with celebrities and valued customers to help stores identify potential big spenders. Once a match is made, the software alerts staff via computer, tablet, or smartphone. It can even provide details such as the clothing size and your shopping history. Oh, really? Is that what you want? Of course, I would like a sales clerk to run right up as soon as I walk in the door and say, "Oh, Mr. Smith, we're so pleased you're here. I have a suit jacket in 44 regular, just perfect for you." If you're that damn vain, crawl back into a hole somewhere and wait for the end. Almagro believes that consumers are likely to volunteer information about themselves online if it enhances their shopping experience and helps provide recommendations that make sense. You know what the only thing that makes sense about this system? You should run from it like it's the Black Plague. Meanwhile, a Finnish company aims to streamline sales using facial recognition for payment. Helsinki-based Unique has patented a system allowing payments to be made without a wallet or a smartphone. I've always been fascinated with how people purchase things and start thinking about the ideal way to pay as you walk into a store, says Mr. Pisarenko, the inventor. Anticipating potential customer concerns, Pisarenko says that he isn't too concerned the technology could be marred by security risks. Come on. They're hacking into the database of Obamacare right now and capturing all your data, you damn idiot. They've already hacked into your insurance company. They've hacked into the motor vehicle systems. And you're going to give everything you want to everything you own, all of your personal information to Neiman Marcus, so that when you walk in the door, they can say, "It appears you've lost a few pounds, Mr. Smith. Oh, we have got a perfect set of dress pants that is just ideal for you." I mean, you got to be kidding me. This is such sycophantic claptrap. I'm not even done yet. We've been thinking about this from day one, he says. Facial recognition is secure by nature. Oh, really? What's the downside to that? Yeah, you can't escape. Facial recognition is secure by nature and is fundamentally a biometric technology since you need to be in the store to use the technology. Now, here they come. Now, this is like, you think of it like a song, right? So you hear the first verse, you hear the second verse, you hear a chorus, you hear the third verse, you hear a chorus, then you get to where the song breaks. But not everyone has embraced facial recognition with open arms. In 2001, Facebook introduced a controversial feature which automatically identifies faces in uploaded photos by comparing them to other tagged pictures. It was rolled out without warning, a move that backfired in the EU as regulators and privacy campaigners forced the social networking site to turn off the functionality. In spite of this, Facebook recently announced plans to extend facial recognition to profile photos in other parts of the world. Our goal is to facilitate tagging so that people know when there are photos of them in our service. Doesn't even make sense. Our goal is to facilitate tagging so that people know when there are photos of them in our service. That's what Facebook Chief Privacy Officer Aaron Egan tells Reuters. You know what? They tell you about Facebook, but they haven't told you about the NSA. They haven't told you about the DHS. They haven't told you about the militarization of the police forces around the nation. They just glanced over the crime thing and immediately jumped into how you're going to benefit because you'll be able to blink your eyes at the cash register and they'll immediately just take the money right out of your wallet. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm never going to have to carry that pesky cash about again. I mean, that whole thing about swiping a credit card, it's so difficult for me. I just want to be able to blink. I just want to be able to show them the little diamond in my front tooth, and then they'll know I want it. Yes, that gadget is my most favorite possession. Arnie Stepanovich, the director of the Domestic Surveillance Project at the Electronic Privacy Information Center in D.C., argues that Facebook has the largest biometric database in the world, which could eventually compromise its users. In an interview with NPR, Stepanovich says, no matter how much a company attempts to protect your privacy, if they're collecting information about you, that information is vulnerable to government search. That's the whole article. So now let's just evaluate this for a minute. They don't talk about the fact that once the government has that information, what are they going to do with it? They don't talk about the fact that the government's already misusing it. They don't talk about the fact that you will not be allowed to go anywhere without being identified and picked out of a crowd. They don't want to talk about the fact that if you're misnamed or you're on the wrong list, that same list will be used to destroy you. They don't want to talk about the fact that one of these days you're going to see one of your family members snatched off the street because they made it onto a domestic terror list. They don't want to talk about the fact that anywhere you go, everywhere you go, your conversations are being recorded. Your face is being recorded. This is 1984. Go back and read the book, you dolt. Go look at the book and pick out 1984 again and go give it a good quick read. Then put it back in the used library section and go ahead. Move on. But the truth of the matter is, none of this is to your benefit. All of this data, all of this collected information cannot possibly benefit you. No matter how much you want to try to rationalize it, this kind of soft soap selling is treason. This is the Ministry of Propaganda at work. How much do you want to bet that this article was inserted by government? Well, how do I know that? Because a couple of sheer months ago, the federal government passed a little item in the Federal Register that they didn't tell anybody about and that didn't make the news. Nobody talked about it. Not Communist News Network, not faux news. No, your favorite Fox, I'm sorry. I call them faux news. MSLSD, those tripping idiots over there, ABC, NBC, CBS, none of them are talking about it. The New York Times didn't talk about it. The Wall Street Journal didn't talk about it. The Miami Herald didn't talk about it. The Chicago Tribune didn't talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. You know what it is? Well, it's a little-known thing. They changed the Smith-Mundt Act. What the hell is the Smith-Mundt Act? I never even heard of that thing. Well, it was passed in 1947 to prohibit your government from utilizing government and state-sponsored propaganda against you. Yes, the same kind that was used by Mr. Goebbels against Germany. And in the Federal Register, they made a little rule change, just a little rule change, just a couple of sentences. It's not worthy of anybody telling you about it because it's such, it really isn't important. It's such small news. I mean, we've got a dog we found in the well. And what it does is it allows the government to interleave propaganda stories into the mainstream media so that you can consume them. And when you consume poison, it does its job. The truth is, you're being distracted. You're being misled. You're being manipulated. The sheer volume of propaganda that is being forced down your throat, this is no different than as if I were to strap you to a chair and prop your eyes open with toothpicks and run endless propagandic videos. It's just a little less uncomfortable. Let's talk about sports scores. Why? Why? You can memorize a sports score. You know the exact batting average of a guy who played baseball in 1937. But you can't name 3 founding fathers. You know the name of every NASCAR driver out there. You know the number on his car. You know how many races he won. You know the name of his wife. But you can't tell me what the Federalist and the Anti-Federalist papers are. You're not even sure you've ever even heard the words. You know the lineup of every television channel out there. You know what sitcom comes after which sitcom? Where you're being taught to be cynical, or it's pumped into your brain that everybody has a right to be here. Shouldn't be any borders. I'm a Mexican national, and I'm just like you, see? I'm here illegally. It's okay. It's a sitcom. The truth is, your colleges, your schools, they're telling you your white privilege. White privilege? What? I didn't ask to be born white. What do you think I did? I walked down the lineup and I said, let's see, I could be African American, I could be, like this guy from the Elephant Man, I could be Indian. Let's see, Asian. No, I don't really want to be Asian. I think I'll pick white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Yeah, that wasps. I always kind of like bees. You have white privilege, and you're not even aware of it. Peanut butter and jelly on bread, that's white privilege speaking. Because some little boys and girls, some brown boys and brown girls, some little brown boys and brown and black boys, they don't eat peanut butter and jelly on bread. They eat it on pita. So your white privilege is showing. Think I'm kidding? I just did a story about it. Go back and look at my YouTube videos and find it. That came out of an educator going into a school system telling that to children. Not to mention the fact that in addition to that, the teachers in his school are required to read articles and then write essays about how their white privilege affects their outlook. If you don't call that propaganda, if you don't call that mind control, if you don't call that indoctrination, what do you call it? So now they're going to sell you facial recognition as what a benefit it's going to be to you. Soon you could pay for your goods simply by showing your face to a scanner. Government agency. Listen, the story highlights are right on the side. Find me one that's negative? No, you can't. Story highlights. Soon you could pay for goods simply by showing your face to a scanner. Second bullet. Government agencies are keen to use the technology with the stated aim of fighting crime. Stated aim? 3. The FBI will roll out advanced facial recognition technology across the U.S. in 2014. We should be anticipating that, right? Not. Then the final bullet point. Critics warn of the compromising risk of giving intimate information away. Let me tell you something. I'm a critic, and it has nothing to do with compromising risk of giving away my personal information. I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what my real concern is here. I'm a critic. I'm saying that when the enemies list is developed, there'll be no place for you to hide. And the enemy list is being developed every day, right around you. The IRS has already proven to us that they are the thugocracy enforcement arm of the current family in power. The conciliary, if you will, of the Obama administration. They're the enforcer. They're the hulking guy who stands behind the little dude who looks like a rat and says, listen, you need protection. No, not from them. You need protection from us. And the big guy in the back says, yeah, you need protection from us. Their shirt's labeled IRS. The Department of Homeland Security is building facial recognition systems to identify what enemies the thugs should go after, you dolts. Our country has collapsed into a bunch of chicken-livered, whining, mewling, rotten, stinking, self-impressed, self-motivated, selfish and greedy animals. I'm ashamed to lump the patriotic Americans that listen to this program in with the rest of that. I'm ashamed to call them Americans because it taints the true patriots out there. These people give Americans a bad name. And Jim Stenman here from CNN. What an embarrassing... how does this guy go home and sleep at night? Who does he see when he washes his face in the morning in the mirror? Who does he see looking back at him? He has betrayed his fellow man because he's had the bully pulpit. He's got the place to sit down and expose this for what it is. And instead, he tries to tell us how wonderful it's going to be. The truth is, anything can be used for good or bad. But when you give this kind of power to these people who have already shown you what they do with power, that's a major mistake. You've been listening to America's Voice. We'll be right back. When we come back, I'm going to talk about how the NSA has penetrated internet providers' fiber optic cables. They've done it without their knowledge, without their authorization. And I don't care whether they got a FISA court approval to do it or not. That's illegal. And it's time that this government be held accountable for their illegal actions. They hold you accountable. Why are they above the law? There is no rationale or excuse to make that legitimate. We'll be right back. Find us on americasvoicenow.org, facebook.com/America's Voice Now, and youtube.com/America's Voice Now. Stick with us. We'll be right back.